SEAL One is a proud sponsor of the Talking Lead podcast and the Leadhead Brigade. Use the code LEADHEAD for a 25% off discount.
All right, lead heads. We are back with another episode of the Talking Lead podcast. I am your host, Lefty, where we have been leducating the uneducated since 2012. 13 years of bringing you guys good, wholesome, fun, education, entertainment, whatever you call it, excitement, baby. And today is no different. We have a returning guest. His last appearance has been, I guess, over 5 years ago. But we are glad to have him back. Ladies and gentlemen, give a good, warm leadhead welcome to Kyle Mills. Kyle, welcome in.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're glad to have you back. Last time we had you on, we reviewed your book. Was it was Vince Flynn. You were doing the Vince Flynn novels then. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I can't either. Kind of the middle of my tenure doing the Mitch Rapp books.
Yeah. So I think that was like episode 347. If you guys want to go back, check that out, listen to that. But Mitch is #1 New York Times bestselling author. And he's got dozens and dozens of books under his belt. And he had one almost 20 years ago, I guess it's been. You had this character called Fayed, and you have resurrected Fayed in your new book, Fade In. Is this the second in that series?
Nah, not really. The new Fade In, which just published, is really the first in the series. The other book, like you said, I wrote 20 years ago. If you went back and read it, it would feel like kind of a prequel from Fade's younger days.
Yeah. So I guess you kind of had to do that when you brought him back, is kind of make that more of a like a flashback to his younger years, I guess.
Yeah, 20 years is a long time, and
it's a long time
nowadays. Where everything changes. It's funny. That's the first book of mine I've ever read. Like, I've never gone back and read one of my books, but it's funny to read because the internet was sort of fledgling and people were buying stuff from the Sharper Image. There was no Amazon or anything. So it's funny how quickly books become historical fiction.
Yeah. And we're gonna talk about his new book. But before we do that, I mean, last time that we had you on, we were kind of in the midst of the COVID pandemic, if you want to call it that. But there was a lot going on with you. You were kind of in between Wyoming and Spain at the time, and you were kind of, iffy on whether you'd be able to get back to Spain. And we were talking a little bit prior to the show, and it looks like you got things worked out, and you might be headed back, huh?
Yeah. Well, that was touch and go. I remember my residency was running out in like 1 week. But you couldn't fly, to Spain, and they opened it up for residents. So we moved all of a sudden, drove down there in a rental car, put all our stuff in storage, rented our house in Wyoming out, and we had to get COVID tests in the parking lot of some building or like near the airport. And if we had tested positive, we couldn't have gotten on the plane and we had nowhere to live. We basically got a rental car and a couple of duffel bags. Fortunately, we both tested negative and managed to get on that flight, but it was weird. It was like you'd go to the Barcelona airport and it was empty. Like nothing was open. Yeah. It was I felt like it was just us.
Like you had the whole city to yourself.
Yeah. And Spain had been locked down, they'd quarantined themselves and all this stuff. So it
Yeah.
was a crazy time, particularly in Spain.
Yeah. And, bringing that up because, we're going to kind of get into that in your new book, but we'll hit on that in a minute. As far as that pandemic goes that we all lived through and, most everybody survived. Looking back, hindsight on that, and reflecting, has your opinion changed on that? Did you learn anything new? What did you get from where we were then to where we are now on that?
Yeah, I would say probably the most interesting thing about it was that I really thought that the world would have systems in place after SARS and everything would have systems in place that were pretty solid for doing that, for mitigating the problems, communicating with society, and I was I think overly optimistic on that. It felt a little haphazard, and other than Operation Warp Speed, which seemed to chug along pretty well, it just seemed a little chaotic, more so than I would have thought with CDC and WHO, ostensibly doing this every day.
Right. Yeah. And, that seems to be like a big mystery to everybody. It's like, this isn't our first rodeo. And, in comparison, it wasn't as bad of a, an epidemic as we've had in the past times. And, like you said, the communication between the interagencies and then also just governmental, back and forth and politicizing it and using it as a weapon to come over to our side because this is, how we do things and how we see it. And then also countries, because the whole world was going through this. And just the lack of communication, it seemed like even through the different countries, because everybody wanted to do things their own way.
Yeah, and some countries got hit much harder than others. Spain was hit really hard, really early in it. And I mean, they actually have a huge medical capacity. There are more beds per capita than the United States even. But they also have a very old population. So they were just getting hammered. Their hospitals were filling up, people were dying left and right, and ended up quarantining, like having a pretty harsh quarantine. Fortunately, I was not there for that. So it was, the reactions were different all over the world. Scandinavia reacted in a very different way. The United States went state by state, really. I mean, I'm from Wyoming, so we got off easy. There are no people here.
Yeah.
So I mean, we were all pretty spread out. You can kind of do whatever you wanted. So it was an interesting time to see it. And my fear now is that we didn't learn anything. And
do we ever?
Yeah, and I mean, this is a little bit what Fade In is about. It talks about how the governments are getting crazier and more incompetent, and so they're good at like screaming about partisan stuff and trying to get reelected. They're very good at getting reelected, but if something major happens and it's really is a real crisis and lives are at stake, they get a little wandery at that point. All they know about is how to use it to try to get reelected or to get people writing checks.
It's how to keep the power.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I think about even Texas. Yeah, I followed their power shortage and or their power outage a few years ago because I had written a book very similar to that called Total Power in the Mitch Rapp series. And
that's the one we talked about. That's the book.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. And so about a terrorist group attacking America's power grid. And I remember watching Texas, they're trying to blame the windmills and then doing this and that. And, saying windmills don't work when it's cold, which is pretty funny if you're from Wyoming, because the Texans don't even understand what cold is. Their cold snap was like our nice spring day. and it all just and then nothing happened. They really didn't do anything about it. So it's just going to happen again. So it's an interesting time to be alive because there are a lot of crazy crises. I mean, not only war, with Hamas or with Russia, but also, power grid failures. You've got, storms, flood, it burns in the West where I am and floods in the East, and nobody really does anything about it. You'd think, for instance, the U.S. military would have the capacity to spot wildfires and put them out.
I mean, we have these things called satellites.
Yeah. Planes. I mean, don't we have spy planes? We're not doing much with those. Just fly them around.
I mean, the drones. The drone technology
with water
these days.
But that's not. Does that get you reelected? Maybe not. Maybe that's the calculation. Like fires, doesn't get neither here nor there to me getting reelected. So I'm not going to worry about it.
Well, they have to present this, this need. You need me. You can't survive without me. So, if they solve all the problems, then they're not going to be needed anymore.
Exactly. And it maybe you create more. I don't know. I think of Russia attacking Ukraine. Well, let's just create some problems, and then I can, take over and solve them.
There are conspiracy theories about that.
I wrote a book about that too, a few years ago. Russia invading its neighbors.
Which book was that?
Red War. Fortunately, I got it out there before they actually did it.
Maybe you gave them the idea. Maybe it's your fault, Kyle.
Maybe I did. It might be my fault. I've given a lot of people a lot of ideas apparently over.
Well, we kind of touched on that on the last interview. It just seems like, and I say you guys, you thriller, especially, the military, governmental, political thrillers, you guys seem to have an insight because it's like you said, it's like my book was out before that happened, and then it happened. The same thing with the pandemic. There were several people that were talking about this virus thing and doing books about it, and then it seems like all of a sudden, boom, that happened. War with, like you said, Russia, Ukraine. It's just uncanny. It's like you guys have a little crystal ball, that you can look into.
I mean, that's what you're always thinking about, right? And what's the next threat? And how could it happen? And all these things. But truth is, now the world's getting so crazy. I mean, like, for instance, Red War, I wrote about Russia attacking its neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
But when I researched it, so I do deep dives into this stuff, which is what's fun about it for me. And I could not put together any rational reason that Russia would attack its neighbors. The truth is, based on my research, the Russian military has always been wildly overrated. Their economy is not particularly strong, et cetera, et cetera. And so, and they're the largest country in the world by landmass, and have a fairly small population. The one thing they don't need is more land. And so I gave the guy a brain tumor. Like that was really the only way I could come up with, that really he was weakened, the leader was weakened, and he was really more worried about the people around him taking him out to take over. And so this was more of a distraction. And then Putin goes out and does it, and it played out exactly the way I envisioned. That it's just a disaster for them. It's a disaster for Ukraine. They gain nothing. They're losing people hand over fist. They have a plummeting population, and now they're killing all their young men. So it's just you can't predict anymore how nuts people are going to be.
Yeah, and then we've got the Israel, Iran, Hamas, debacle going on as well. And
they're even crazier. Like, Hamas attacking Israel is like me going into a bar and slapping Mike Tyson. Like, you knew exactly how that was going to end,
right? But yet they did it anyway. I mean, supposedly, and again, there's conspiracy theories going on, with that as well. There's always conspiracy, and I like conspiracy theories.
Oh, me too. It's what I do for a living.
That's right. You make these awesome books. Hey there, lead heads. It's your old pal Lefty with a special offer just for you lead heads. Our friends at Gold's Gym, Tennessee are bringing the heat. Sign up at any gym for just $1 enrollment and get a free personal training session to kickstart your gains. You're not just working out, you're tapping into elite equipment, group classes to push your limits, and recovery perks like saunas and those world-famous hydro massage beds. This is fitness for strength and readiness, leadhead style. 16 locations across Tennessee from Knoxville to Memphis, Chattanooga to Nashville. Hit up goldsgym.com or call 615-956-6016 extension 2 to find your closest goals. Sling iron, lift heavy, and get the gun show ready for summer, leadheads, at Gold's Gym, Tennessee. 615-956-6016 extension 2. Tell them Lefty sent you. Now I wasn't familiar with the first one. It's just called Fade, wasn't it?
Right.
First one. But just getting into this one and picking it up, I felt like I didn't really miss anything. I mean, I'm sure I did, and I need to go back and read that, but it was easy for me just to jump into this and pick up, after 20 years and move forward with this book. And I really enjoyed it. It was a good book. I like the guy who does your readings.
Will. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does a good job. But it's kind of a pet peeve for me when guys do female voices. It just kind of takes me out of it. It's like, I wish.
Well, sometimes they do multiple readers. I've never had a book done like that.
That's what
they're kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was you and I that talked. It's either you and me or Jack that talked about that. It's like, why don't they get like assigned roles to people? It's like
they have it,
and I'm sure it's all about the money. It's more expensive,
twice as expensive, probably.
Well, yeah, probably
or more. It's probably much harder. I think would you have to sit in the same room? A lot of these guys sit in their closet, surrounded by their clothes, so it sounds good. So now you have to cram two people.
Go in their closet.
Now you got two people in your closet. That seems a little weird.
Well, they have studios for these things.
A lot of them do now, but I remember, they just sat in their little tiny room with its all sound, optimized and all that. So.
Really, really quiet. Yeah. But other than that, and that's not just that's any book that I listen to on audio.
All books, yeah.
Yeah, when the guy goes into the female voices, but he did good on a couple of them. I mean, actually, I could.
I threw a lot at that poor guy. Yeah, he was laughing at it about it because he's got everything for all different accents, a lot of female characters. He's got cartoon characters he had to do, like Marvin the Martian and Yosemite Sam. Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna make you earn your money.
Yeah, and that's a part of the book that I wanted to talk to you about. So when we get to that, I want to remind me about that because it was good. I like the way that you did that. But I want to catch up with you because, like I said, it's been over 5 years since we talked last, and the pandemic and all this stuff, and you had the going back and forth from here to Spain, and you had a lot going on in your life.
Yeah.
And you were doing you took well, you didn't take over, but you the Vince Flynn books. That was kind of your main gig, and then again, I don't know, for whatever reason, Don Bentley is doing those now, and we had Don on. Was it last year? I think it's been about a year when we had.
Probably was because his next book doesn't come out until the end of September.
Okay, it was last year's first one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, and then that was kind of a mix-up because you said you were going to send me your book, and this one came, and I was like, I think they got you guys mixed up and sent me the wrong book. Because,
right. Yeah,
I didn't even know I was getting this book, but I guess Dan figured I needed to have that in my arsenal.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
But I know you and Don are good buddies. You're good friends.
Yeah.
You guys have done some shows together and interviews and things like that. how does that work with you guys when like you were doing that? You did how many did you do? Like
9.
9? Okay.
Mhm.
You did 9 of those. How does that handoff work when you've been doing it for so long and then they bring in a new guy? Do you kind of like do a debrief or anything like that, or how's that work?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, for sure. I mean, I'd known Don for a long time already. I was really excited that they chose him after I left. Thought he was a perfect guy to do it. Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about where he was going to go with the book, and I tried to leave it. I kind of consciously left the last book feeling very much like the end of my arc. I'd kind of taken Mitch when he was very angry and frustrated and alone, and I took him through 9 books. At the end, he dealt with a lot of stuff. He had a partner and kind of a daughter and was in a better place. And I left there. I killed off a couple of complicated characters. And I felt like, okay, now, Don, I've left you in a really good place. You can go anywhere you want with this book, or with the next arc in the series.
Right.
So, and then, every once in a while we talk about, little details like, how old is some character or something, because those calculations are really hard to make. And I made them when I took over. Because I read through the whole series again and like took meticulous notes and made all these calculations and stuff. So, and then obviously expanded the universe significantly over another 9 books. So every once in a while we'll chit chat about details if he can't remember what I had done in some book or whatever.
Right. Now the Fayed is an original character to you. Correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So Leadheads, in my previous episode, I was letting them know that you were coming on. I had misspoke and thought it was one of Vince Flynn's characters that were expounding on, and I was wrong about that, and I'm sorry. So I just want to clear that up with our listeners, make sure they understand. But with with again, when you're handing stuff off, and is there like notice? How much notice do you get? It's like, okay, you got 2 more books and then, we're going to hand it off, or do you even get that kind of courtesy?
Oh, I left. So yeah, it wasn't, I gave them a bunch of notice. Yeah. So
however that works.
Yeah. I gave probably a year and a half or so. I think probably when I started my last book, which was the last book on that contract, I called them and told them that it would be my last book. So that gave them more than a year to find somebody, because, it's not that easy. People have, they have contractual obligations. So, and then they asked me who I thought might be a good choice to replace me. And hilariously, I did not choose Don. I didn't even mention Don because he had just gotten to number 2 on the New York Times bestseller list with a Clancy book. So I didn't think he'd be interested.
Yeah.
And then shortly thereafter, he and I had dinner. We're having dinner together, and he asked me if I was going to continue the Mitch Rapp series, but it had not been announced that I wasn't. So I told him I was, and unbeknownst to me, he had been asked to take it over. And so he lied. I lied to him about that. He lied to me. And then that night, he apparently called his agent, and he's like, "Oh my God, they're firing Kyle, and they're not even telling him. I don't want the job. Like, I'm not taking it." And he's like, his agent said, "Well, let me call and see what's up." And they said, no, Kyle left. He can keep his job as long as he wants.
Yeah. Y'all were protecting each other's feelings.
Yeah. And then he emailed, or he called me the next day, and he's like, "I can't believe you lied to me all night."
He's like, "Well, you lied to me too."
Exactly.
It goes hand in hand. Now knowing at this point, knowing this, is he like making any requests from you? It's like, "Hey, would you kill this guy off so I don't have to continue that?"
No, I had been really careful about that. Like, I told him, I'm going to leave you in a primo spot to, I'm going to finish up this arc. I'm going to tie everything up in a nice bow, and then you can go, wherever you want with Mitch Rapp.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of an interesting dynamic, with when you get into a situation like Vince Flynn and, him passing and then them bringing other people on to carry the torch. And, it's a little, a little different than, somebody that just same person does it throughout their entire life, kind of deal. Like Stephen Hunter, Stephen Hunter with his character.
I think it's definitely interesting. I mean, obviously Vince was an amazing writer and created this amazing series and character. On the other hand, I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see the different perspectives people have on the character in the series. I mean, I brought things that were, I tried to stay very true to Vince's style, but I brought things like humor to it that he had not done. I had moved it away a little bit from just doing Islamic terrorism into doing other types of threats. And then Don, particularly if you read his first book, he brings his military background to it, which I don't have. So I don't write. My background is more having grown up around a lot of CIA, FBI type people. So I know a lot more.
Like an espionage kind of.
Yeah, I'm more of a CIA, intelligence. That's my knowledge and my comfort space. Whereas Don has a lot of knowledge about the military. So he can bring that to the book with an authenticity that I don't think I could have.
Yeah. Just imagine if you guys teamed up.
That'd be fun.
Right?
Yeah. I've never done it, but I've talked about it with authors before, but never pulled the trigger.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of, of like the Star Trek, like Trekkies, and how they, the fans themselves have kind of gone and written their own scripts and how, they like stories done and told. And with AI nowadays, they're actually going and filming, some of this stuff on their own. And, and the studios are taking notice. It's like, these guys are doing a better job than, what we were doing. Yeah.
That's going to be really interesting to see, because I don't know, maybe when I retire, I'll get into filmmaking, because by then AI will be ready to do it. And there have been a couple of books that I think it'd be fun with. Yeah, it'd be fun to do a couple of my books, learn to write scripts and learn to film this stuff. And I think there's going to be, there's a huge indie book, market now, which kind of rose up because of the invention of, ebooks and the Kindle.
Yeah.
And then now I foresee a huge indie movie industry rising up. And just like the indie books, there's some amazing indie books out there now, and that have not gotten a mainstream publisher for whatever reason. And I think they're going to be amazing indie films, as people, particularly, I think even much more so than books, because the barriers to entry into a book are not that high. Buy a typewriter, get some paper.
Right.
But the barriers to entry to filming a movie have always been, insurmountably high.
Right.
So now you lower that barrier, there are going to be all kinds of people with insane talent.
Yeah. Now all you need to, cell phone.
That never wanted to go to Hollywood or like get into that quagmire, but have the incredible talent to actually produce, amazing stuff.
Yeah. And the reason I brought that up is, IP. You get into, that territory of, these fans are just doing, they think they're doing an homage to, their heroes, their favorite, whether it's Star Trek or, whatever it may be. But then the studios see that in a different way with their attorneys, and it's like, hey, you guys are stealing our stuff, and you get into a whole nother ball of wax. I was just, with books, do you see that happen at all, where fans go and it's like, hey, I wrote this little spinoff of Fade, or whoever it may be, and they put it out there on the internet.
It sort of depends. I mean, fan fiction, I think, has been pretty well tolerated.
Yeah.
To some extent. But it also depends on the author. I mean, I remember our little local library here in my tiny town in Wyoming was doing a like a Halloween thing for the kids that was a Harry Potter themed, and they got a cease and desist order from J.K. Rowling's like people.
Did she live in Jackson Hole?
No, she's British.
Well, I mean,
I don't know how they found out about it, but they did. They're scouring the internet for anything like that. So I think that it will be a big thing. But one of the things I'm just super interested in is the idea that you'd have some really interesting directors out there who could, if I wanted to write a script of one of my books or one of my friends who's a novelist, whatever kind of novel,
yeah,
particularly like fantasy, which is huge but very expensive to film, that we would be able to connect with people like that and have a movie made for what, 25 grand or something instead of 10.5 million or
cheaper,
100 million. So
yeah. Well, they have like these crowdfunding things now too, where it's like, hey, if you went out to your fan base and said, hey, we're going to make a movie on this book, you would get the fan support, and they have like a little input. And there's this you're probably familiar with them. It's is it called Angel Studios?
I don't know.
I can't remember exactly what I think it's called, Angel Studios, but that's kind of how that studio works. Is it's crowd funded, and they take input from the people that are donating or or doing whatever, and then they'll make a movie on that. It's like, this is kind of our idea. Do you guys want to get behind it? And then they'll put their names in the credits, and everybody that helped donate and do all that.
Maybe it's super fun. I mean, it'd be really interesting because
Jeff Kirkham,
the studios put some serious crap out. I'm pretty sure I can do better than some of the stuff I've seen on Netflix.
Yeah. So Jeff Kirkham is a author, and he's done like a post-apocalyptic kind of book series. And Angel Studios took one of his book, and they've done they did a movie and then like a TV series kind of thing. And it's interesting how they're doing that.
Yeah, it'll be really cool. There'll be eventually, just like books, it'll be so much content that the hard part will be sifting through it, separating the gems from all the garbage. Because unfortunately, I feel like that's the way the internet is going to some extent. Pretty soon it's just going to be, BS, rage and porn. And that's like all that's going to be left on it.
Yeah. Well, I got a little more faith.
Good. I need some optimists.
So let's get into the book, and then because I want to circle back to the movie aspect, but I want to cover the book first. So this is, again, like the second book in this series. Maybe it's the first, but
it's the first book in the series, but there is a prequel.
You're like Star Wars. They did their prequel. They did their
or even the Vince
first.
Flynn series. He wrote a bunch of books, and then he went back with American Assassin and explored, his origin, Mitch Rapp's origin story.
Yeah. So this is about a Navy SEAL, former Navy SEAL, who's gotten in with the CIA or other government agency, and he's got some issues, I guess, to say the least. And that's where I wanted to get in, when we get to that part about Daffy Duck and all that. But kind of take us in, and I don't want to give a lot of spoilers, but we will do some spoilers on here because the book is out. It's been out for about a month now, hasn't it? A couple of weeks?
A couple of weeks, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of weeks. So we won't do a lot of spoiling, but we'll amp it up, get you guys interested. It's Kyle Mills' Fade In. And Fade is the main character. So tell us about the non-spoiler version of this.
Yeah, so Fade is, his real name is Salam al-Fayed, and his parents were first-generation immigrants from Syria. He was born in the U.S. in New York, and he became a Navy SEAL, and his teammates found Salam al-Fayed to be kind of of a mouthful, so they nicknamed him Fade, and it stuck. He then went to work for the CIA, but kind of got screwed over. He got shot in the back, and the bullet was paralyzing him, and they did not give him really much medical support. And so that's kind of where you found him in the first book. Homeland Security tried to force him back into service, to sort of use him up until he became paralyzed, and he went on a bit of a rampage against them with the idea that he would die at the end of it. And so then he brings it back here, or that brings it back to this book where comes out of his coma, and he is put in a position where, I mean, he's kind of lost. He's wanted by the police. He's woken up from this coma, and he is offered basically rehabilitation by this billionaire who then wants him to consider coming and working for him.
That's a pretty good synopsis. And then the action ensues.
It does, yeah. So this billionaire named John Lowe basically goes back to what we were talking about earlier. He sees the governments of the world failing. They're becoming increasingly autocratic. They're becoming increasingly wrapped up simply in maintaining their own power. They have no interest in really solving problems, maybe even interested in creating them to maintain fear and chaos so they can stay in power. And Lowe sees this as incredibly dangerous. He sees his billionaire class as becoming hyper powerful. You know, if you think about Elon Musk, I wrote this book before Elon Musk got into politics, but think about a guy who we can barely communicate without his satellites. We can't shoot stuff into space without his rockets. You think about, social media,
clean energy.
They feed us everything we see by an algorithm. They can show us or not show us anything they want. They control everything that we see and think. And so he sees this as becoming very dangerous and is going to lead to societal collapse. So he's trying to bring together some of these billionaires, a number of politicians into a group that understands that, if you have 250 billion, making another billion isn't that important, but sort of slowing things down, being more thoughtful about things, and controlling the rate of change so that we don't collapse human society might be in everybody's best interest. But how do you do that? And it's not easy. And one of the problems is sometimes there's no substitute in a situation like that for killing someone. And that's Fade's area of expertise. So he also wants to create a small, very, very talented, high-end paramilitary capability. And that's where Fade comes in.
Now, this guy kind of reminds me of what people, when they say Illuminati, the Illuminati, it seems like Lowe, that's his group of people. They are the Illuminati. They control the world.
Yeah, I mean, they have unbelievable amount of power. But this is real life. I mean, I'm not telling you anything. If you get like Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and those guys all in a room, that's a lot of the world's power right there. And depending on how they want to utilize it, it can have a lot major effects on.
And even them, it seems like they've got puppet masters and they're not the real behind the curtain people. To me, it doesn't seem that way. It seems like there's still somebody, even deeper than Elon or Zuckerberg or, any of these guys, it's darker.
Well, even the politics. Those guys have been more willing to take a knee to the American president than I honestly thought they would be. It seems like, there's the old saying, "Fuck you, money."
Yeah.
I feel like if I had $250 billion, I wouldn't listen to anybody. I wouldn't take anybody's calls.
Yeah, that's kind of
sitting on my yacht. So I think we're seeing this, and we're seeing it with AI now, which is kind of crazy if you think about when I started this book, writing it. AI wasn't really even a thing. Now it's kind of taking over. Right? Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. Yeah. And so their ability to target us, say on social media, has expanded like 1,000-fold just over the last few months. Now, instead of saying, I mean, they already know everything about us, right? This is unprecedented. Even when you think about the Stasi in, in Eastern Europe. I mean, they knew a lot about you, but it was a couple of guys hiding in your attic with reel-to-reel tape and a pen and a piece of paper with headphones on, right?
KGB.
These guys know everything you think, everything you talk to, all your friends, everywhere you've been, everything you've ever bought, all these things. And now with AI, they can use that to profile you, not like they used to. I mean, they used to profile me as, white guy, almost 60, lives in Wyoming, right? And I'm going to market to him, or I'm going to try to convince him of something.
To sell him something.
Now they know everything. They can just take me, put it into a psychological, algorithm and say, how do I market to Kyle Mills?
Yeah.
And they can do that for everybody in the world. So
and to me, it's not selling anymore. It's controlling.
It's controlling.
It's
Absolutely.
not selling. That was maybe how it started off. It's like, hey, we can, increase our revenue because we can target this guy's likes. But now we can control this guy to do what we want also.
Here's what you're going to think, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to hide everything from you that would make you think differently. And they've tried this. There've been psychological tests and it works. So this is something that even during, the think about back in the day when the royalty, was all powerful, I think 400 years ago or something, they couldn't control what the average person saw and did. I mean, the average person, what could they do? Stick something to a tree that they wrote on, but you couldn't read. So it didn't really matter to you. But now it's 8 hours a day, man, at least you're staring at that screen and whatever they're feeding you.
Yeah. It's either this screen or it's this screen mainly. And, this is they record you, they track you. Like you said, they know everywhere you're going, who you've been with, because they can triangulate and know that person's phone's right here.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody you associate with, everything your people you're near.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm already seeing this. It's really interesting. So when you put a book out, you get all this spam from people, there's scam sites. They're like, oh, sign up with us and we'll publicize your book to our many, many subscribers. But it was always like, dear, and there'd be like Kyle Mills in a different font or whatever. We will, they're always like misspellings and shit. And so now it's incredible. So I had to get one of those a week. Now one a day. But they're, dear Kyle, oh my God, I just finished Fade In, and Salam al-Fayed is such an amazing character. Goes on and on. And your background with your father being the director of Interpol and CIA and all this stuff. And it was just what our subscribers are looking for. This was all written by an AI that scoured the description of the book and my thing. So they are targeting me personally in this beautifully written way to convince me to pay them to do nothing other than probably try to get into my bank accounts and siphon them all off to North Korea. So, but that's going to be everything now. Just constant personalized appeals from scammers and politicians and everything. And you're not going to be able to tell, even if you respond to it, the AI will respond to you. You'll have no idea. Unless you sit down face to face with somebody, you have no idea what you're dealing with or who you're dealing with.
So I just pulled up Grok and I typed in, if you were to interview Kyle, what would you ask him? Be creative and original. And then it goes through and it gives me a list here.
Yeah.
These questions aim to surprise Mills, engage the Leadhead Brigade, and uncover fresh perspectives on Fade in writing process and personal influences.
It's kind of terrifying.
It is.
I think also humans, this is something my character John Lowe's sort of wrestling with. We are willing much more than you would think to cede that power to politicians, to the wealthy, and to computers. I mean, it's amazing. Think about, just how much data, including your irises and all that, are you willing to give to Clear, a private company that they're going to use your data in all kinds of ways just to cut the line at the airport? Yeah, I'll give all that up.
Yeah.
Because so we're willing to, and that's what we're doing. I mean, as soon as governments or private companies get power over us, they never give it up. That never goes away, right? The Patriot Act, it comes into power and then it never goes away. It's just that creep of every year they have a little bit more on us, a little bit more power over us, right?
Yeah.
And it never goes away.
So this is what it came up with by me just typing that in.
There you go. I actually never really use AI. It's funny.
Well, I was
but
going to ask you.
I'm gonna have to try more.
It's fun.
It is. It's very cool. The thing is, though, I think for me, what I love about my job is writing books. So people will tell you, "Oh, you can write AI will write this for you." In fact, it pops up now. It's super annoying on Microsoft Word. It's like AI assistant, and it's always like tracking down the margin. I'm like, well, this is what I like to do. I don't want AI to do it for me. So this is my favorite part of my favorite part of the job, sitting down and creating these worlds and these characters and stuff. And the idea that AI would do it for me, I just find
it's
horrible.
fun to try to like deep dive with it. Once you get it past its initial like canned answer stuff, and then you try to, you go into deep dive, with it's fun to see, some of the things that they come up with. Now it did get this right. It says this is your third Fayed novel.
It's because it's getting it off Amazon, and Amazon has it written wrong. And once something gets into Amazon, you can never get it out.
I see.
So it thinks a book I wrote called The Second Horseman has Fayed in it, but it's not true.
Let's see let's ask one of its questions. It says reviving Fayed after 20 years. Fayed's a one-of-a-kind character. Is he a thief? I don't know. It says
Fayed
thief
is definitely not a thief. He is a bit of an unrepentant mass murderer, maybe. He's a funny guy. He's a philosophical guy. And I wanted to resurrect him because we live in a weird world. Like he has the same skills as Mitch Rapp, but Mitch Rapp was very much about good and evil, right? You had typically a Islamic terrorist coming after him. That guy was bad. Mitch Rapp was good, loved America, all these things. Fayed is dealing with this weird shit, the margins. Like, what is AI going to take over? Are these countries going to start these wars? Or is America going to collapse under the weight of its own animosity between the two parties, that most of which isn't even real? So these are the questions that I wanted to deal with, these modern questions, because the truth is Russia's never going to invade us. Neither's China. We're uninvadable. The Muslims are never going to take us down. They're not very good fighters. They can't get here in large numbers.
Not organized.
What's the threat to us is much grander. It's this runaway technology. It's our own animosity. It's really maybe even existential. The idea that, think back on when computer first beat our humans' best chess player. People were really freaked out because that was what we do, right? And now what you're going to find out is the thing that we see as making us special. We're smarter than whatever the average bear, literally, other creatures.
Yeah.
Special place in the universe. No, we're not. We're just dim-wit. We're pretty dim-witted. AI is going to be much smarter. And so what is our place in the universe then? Who are we? What do we do other than sort of breathe air and suck up resources and drop dead eventually? And I think that's a thing that's going to be hard for us to deal with. And what if AI does take over? There are ideas that it could create a separate economy. So this robot and AI economy will take care of everything for us way better than we ever could.
Mm-hmm.
And then just pay us to suck up air, right? They'll have the economy and we'll get a check every month just for being born.
Yeah.
Like, what do we do then? Well, and the truth is, idle hands are the devil's work. What you don't want in the world is a bunch of young men with access to weapons and nothing to do, because that's going to go very badly.
Well, kind of goes into the Terminator, Skynet. Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to be like that. I mean, people worry about AI becoming sentient. Well, that's not the way sentience works. But what it can do is take everything. I mean, it's almost more dangerous. Just take everything from us that we need, like our sense of purpose, our sense of superiority, our jobs, our reason to get up in the morning, right? I mean, all this, if it can all be done better than AI,
I mean,
why
isn't
are
that
we
the
even
ultimate
here?
question? Is what's our purpose?
Yeah.
Why do
What's
we
the meaning of life, right? People have been contemplating this for thousands of years.
forever? Yeah.
Yeah.
Since the beginning of time.
And it was serve God for a very long time, still is for the Muslims, much less in the West.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's what people would say. Or maybe it's your job. Like I build whatever. I build cars. People need cars. I'm a doctor. I heal people.
Mhm.
Well, once all that's gone,
Family.
family could be family. Though people are having fewer and fewer children.
In America.
Yeah. All over the world, really. I mean, even in Latin America, Russia's collapsing. China's population is collapsing.
Yeah.
Europe's. So I
Why
mean,
do
that's
you think
another
that
thing.
is? Do you think that's something that's maybe been, subliminally instilled in us? Because that's why, one of the conspiracy theories on the pandemic is to thin out the population. The Illuminati wants to, 500 million people total, whatever.
As a person with no children, I think that
Me either, yeah.
that people just realized, wow, kids are expensive, time consuming, and kind of sticky. And, women, as they have had, women had no choice. Even when I was born, really. I mean, now you have contraception and women have equal ability to go into the job market.
Right.
And I think that's all it is all over the world is that,
Selfishness. Is that what you would call it?
What's that?
I've heard it called selfishness. It's like, you're just
I don't know.
selfish and you don't want to have kids because then you gotta, dedicate time, money, effort, to them. I was like,
I hate the idea of selfishness though, because
I
a
do
lot
too.
of people have children because they really, really want them. It's not to like help out society. Like people don't say, geez, I think the world needs another kid. I don't want one, but I'm going to do it for the planet. People either want kids or they don't. And I think a lot of people probably want lower numbers than women had, before contraception, say.
Yeah,
or
like my
before
parents,
they had an ability to go
their
into
families, they had 5+ kids on each.
And now women have jobs and, other things to pursue. So I think that's kind of an inevitable, but I mean, also this had to stop. I mean, the population explosion is interesting in that in my lifetime, the population of the world has more than doubled just in my lifetime. And that's kind of incredible. I don't think that was a sustainable pace. So I think it's going to level off and, start to decline, which will be interesting because nobody's ever handled that before since maybe the Black Death. Like, how do you, which is a very different concept. What's that?
I'd say, who knows, thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. I mean, there could have been a civilization that evolved just like us and died out,
And died out. Yeah.
I mean, supposedly this, this planet, this universe has been here for millions and millions of years. So, and we've just reached our evolution over the past, 2,000 years?
Yeah. I mean, certainly modern society is like, the Romans, I guess the Greeks kind of started what we think of as modern society.
Right. And if you look at the overall time frame of that, this could have happened several times. Yeah.
What is that? There's some name for that theory, the Silurian theory or something like that.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's something like that. I got it wrong, but it's close to that.
Yeah.
It certainly could have happened. So we'll see what happens with that arc. But
also,
not to go crazy would be a good thing.
Yeah, that this is a matrix. We're living in the matrix right now. We are programs. There's somebody outside controlling us, and
could be everything's a simulation.
Yeah. And that's that. And the reason I bring that up is that's kind of the feeling I got from Fayed, because Fayed just seems like he's not in reality. It seems like he feels like he's just living a program. and that
He struggles with reality.
He does.
Yeah, a little bit. He spins his own sometimes, and he has a little hard time because of coming out of the coma, whether he's awake or he's asleep and all these things for a while. But it's a world in which less and less is real. You think people are like dating AIs now. It's weird.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I did. So I was. This is in Nashville. It was like West Nashville, I think, the West Nashville area, and it's more of an affluent, well-to-do area. And I was going into this theater, and outside there was these two people walking. One had a leash on and a dog face, a dog mask, and like ears. And this other person was walking them on a leash. And again, I felt like I was like, is this real? Am I awake? But
couldn't get a real dog.
I don't know. Yeah, but I think it's a thing. I think
that may be a thing. It's where the human interaction is messy, and so we'll see if people can put up with it.
Was I don't know if he was hallucinating or what he was doing, but there's one scene we were talking earlier where some Looney Tune characters come into play, and it reminded me. Have you ever watched The Boys?
Oh yeah, for sure. I love that show.
There's this one character that hallucinates about all these cartoon characters and stuff, and it reminded me of that when that scene came up, and I started laughing. Is that kind of the angle you were going with?
Yeah, I mean, Fade that's a flashback. So I needed to just talk a little bit about Fade's background. And the best way to do that, I felt like, was as he's waking up from this coma, that he would have flashbacks to critical moments in his life. So that's kind of a scene from the first book, Fade. Okay. But with more kind of surreal stuff put into it. So I kind of put dream stuff, a little bit of dreamy, not completely realistic stuff in it to kind of denote that it wasn't real, that it was a dream as he's coming out of this coma. So and that I wanted to get all that a little bit out of the way so that you'd know who he was. He was a really well-established and understandable character, even though he's a complicated character. Yeah. And then you could move forward and learn about his arc as he recovers from the coma and then gets sort of gets swept into this group that, in a way, are trying to take over the world, right? I mean, John Lowe says that at one point and laughs about it.
Comes out and says it.
Yeah. I mean, but he's like, but I'm kind of serious. Like, somebody's got to ride herd over this, or we're gonna have chaos.
I think he does it a couple of times in the book.
Yeah. And so
I got the distinct impression that he wants to take over the world.
I think he does, but I think in a way he didn't feel like it was realistic, and then he's been very surprised at
how easy it is.
Yeah. And I think about, like, the Trump administration now, how little, you think about the United States supposed to have all these, checks and balances and things. And what you're finding is that Donald Trump can, whatever he dreams up, he can do. And so it's kind of that way with John Lowe.
He tries, and I mean, that's been the history of every administration, is they try to push the limits to.
Yeah. And he's just pushing it really. I thought there might be some pushback, like occupying cities with the military would be like, people would be uncomfortable with that. But or working entirely through executive order or things like this, things people complained about under the Obama administration,
right,
seem much more. I just can't think of anything he could do that he would get pushback on. He just pretty much do what he wants. So, and that's kind of what Lowe is finding out, is that, and I think he tells Fade this at some point, that you just do whatever you want until people push back, but no one ever does. And so as long as you got a lot of money or power, people will bend the knee to you. And that's been sort of the history of humanity to some extent. The amazing ability for one person to take over a country and rule millions with an iron fist. Even think like Iraq under Saddam Hussein, he was part of an ethnic minority, but he ruled that place with an iron fist. You even looked at him wrong. You were
Hitler.
dead, your family was dead, and your village was burned. And so, it's kind of amazing that he was able to do that.
Yeah. And through history, we've seen that.
Yeah. And now you have systems of control that are beyond anything we've ever seen, right? I mean, Donald Trump could easily just take over Facebook and X easily. I mean, I don't think he'd have to force them. He'd just say, I'm doing it. And they'd go, oh, okay. That's pretty much what they've done.
I think there would be a little more pushback than that.
I don't think, not at all. I don't think at all. I mean, certainly they've all bent the knee to him. Amazon, like these guys, they do what they're told. And he could do that and just be like, take everything off that's negative about
Don't you think that they also did that under the other previous administrations? Is they did what they
I don't think they really asked,
or they were told also?
I don't think they were asked. I don't think those guys had that much imagination. I feel like Trump has a lot of imagination.
He does have a lot of imagination.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, certainly they asked to take down, and the only thing I can think of with Biden is he wanted them to take down like the naked pictures of his son. They had hacked his phone.
Well, it's not just that
stuff like that,
but the other things that they wanted them to do. It's not like take this down, don't do this. It's like do this and put this information out.
With COVID, put this information out and stuff like that.
Yeah, with a lot of different things.
And yet they could have. This isn't about. It's not about Trump. They could have. All you have to tell these billionaires is, I'll take your money away, or not even take your money away. I'll just cut your profit margin by 1/10 of 1%. They'll sell their children to you over there. So it's really is interesting, the power dynamics and how that's happening. You think of Putin, iron-fisted control over his country. You would think he wouldn't have that. They're a modern European country, but he can do anything he wants. He can march 1 million people off to Ukraine to die, and they do it. So, you'd have a hard time convincing me to go to try to take over Ukraine to go get shot at by the Ukrainians. I'd say, don't we have enough land here? United States, nice place. I don't feel like I want to die to Greenland being a perfect example. I'm not going to die to take over some big frozen place or what? I'm going to hunt seals over there? No, thank you.
Hunt seals.
So it's very interesting in this dynamic. And, Lowe, I guess a little like Trump, has imagination. He's like, well, I'm going to try it.
Well, you put a little bit of that into the book. I noticed that there were some jabs at the current administration in here.
Were there? Wasn't intentional.
Okay. Yeah. Wink.
It's at any administration. So you'll notice in my books, there is no Democrat or Republican.
Yeah.
There are none of those issues because partisanship is a scam foisted on us by the elites. Right?
It's a tool for control.
It's a tool for control.
Parties.
There's a great thing on Vox where they did a thing on Tucker Carlson and stuff he said a long time ago, and he comes right out and says it. He's like, I'm the ultimate elitist, and I got to keep people fighting. And I think he says, so they never look over my wall, right? You don't want people to know I live in the wealthiest county in the United States, and nobody really wants to know what level of privilege that it's private islands and young girls and all this, and it's on both sides. It has nothing to do. They don't care. Go to a party with a bunch of billionaires. They don't care what your politics are. It's about money and power.
Now
and if they can keep everybody fighting,
to where you've probably interacted with both, the super rich elite and the politicians.
I have, and on both sides of the aisle, because sometimes one guy's in power, sometimes the other guy's in power, and nobody cares, right? They're just going to give whoever's in power money. It's all about maintaining that elite level. They're not patriots. They're not, like, it's just about power. So that's what I want to get across. Don't get fooled by this partisan stuff because the people at the high level are not playing that game. They're
Nobody,
playing a much longer game.
none of them care about you. All they care about are themselves.
Yeah. And so John Lowe is hoping to pull that back because it's a lot of times also the people who become very wealthy and very powerful, just the people you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Because
but
they
John Lowe sounds like that dictator kind of guy because he's like, I'll just take complete control. He's super rich. He doesn't have a family. No friends that, this is how you paint the picture of this guy.
Right.
He's a master manipulator, but he's also a visionary and he's got this goal. He seems to be very focused.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully it's a benevolent goal. He seems to think it is, but the question is it? How much control is he willing to take?
Yeah.
And
you do a good job painting
that picture.
What's that? That you do a good job of painting that picture of, I don't really know about this guy. It sounds like, 1 minute he's this way and then another minute he's, genuine. And I think Fayed sees that also. But
and the danger is giving the people giving away that power. And it doesn't matter if you're giving it to Trump or Biden. These are irrelevant details.
Yeah.
The problem is giving it because like tyranny can come from the left, like it did Soviet Union, China. It can come from the right, like it did with Hitler. But it's something that democracy doesn't last long. It's not the normal way that humans organize themselves, which is strange because it's extremely successful,
Yeah.
But for some reason, people get tired of it and give it away. And now we have it. It's not just to politicians, but it's to these groups of very powerful, hyper wealthy people.
Democracy doesn't last because of greed, because someone wants to take it all.
And a bunch of us are willing to give it away.
It
takes two to tango.
I'll give you this if you give me this. But
it's one of the things I loved about George Orwell's books, like 1984 or Animal Farm, is that he really never portrayed the downtrodden people as the good guys because they had been manipulated into this through their own greed, their own hatred, their racism, their whatever nationalism, and they had been manipulated into giving up their power to this dictator. So they weren't the good guys. They just were the unsuccessful ones.
Yeah. The victor writes history, right? Is that how?
Exactly.
Is that how that goes? So John Lowe, he's one of the major characters in this. Let's run through a couple of other. Matt Egan is another main character. Was he in I assume he was in the prequel as well.
Prequel, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Fayed's like at one time best friend. They were in the military together and CIA together, and then had a pretty serious falling out. Almost killed each other. Now Matt Egan's in a very different place in his life, and Fayed is trying to deal with them, and they're trying to figure out what their relationship is now. I like complicated relationships between people.
Yeah. And again, through the whole book, I just get, if I'm putting myself in Fayed's shoes, I just feel like I'm in a daze. He doesn't know if it's real or, fantasy throughout the whole thing. And, good reason because of his condition and, maybe all this stuff they're pumping into him. We haven't even got to that yet. This machine.
The mystery machine.
That's brought him back to life, kind of deal. And you're saying, I think I saw an interview that you did. You're saying like that machine actually exists. You based it on something.
Well, to some extent, the certainly one thing you should look at the elites, right? We're talking about like the CEOs of companies and stuff. They're pretty old and they're all super jacked. Ever notice that? I mean, really fast. Like Zuckerberg, he's fast, 10K. They're not doing that with bands in their office.
Bezos is one.
Yeah, Bezos. Like, you look at an old picture of Bezos. He's a scrawny little geek. Now he looks like a James Bond villain.
Yeah. Looks
Like
like
they're not doing that because he's in the gym, 6 hours a day. Let me tell you, they got the good stuff. Also, like Fayed was talking about, like getting infused with the blood of young people, which they've done studies on. That's very much on the down low, but that is a real thing, and it would work, I think.
well, there's been,
But also, right now elites are picking their embryos, right? They do in vitro and they do genetic testing on their embryos. They want a smart one, an athletic one, and all that, something that the average person can't do. So these elites, and this is kind of inspired by a party I once went to with a bunch of, very, very wealthy people and their children. These kids are going to be amazing, right? They're going to be brilliant and hardworking, and they're all going to intermarry, and then they're going to inherit their parents' money, and they're all going to be, just become entrenched up here, and everybody else will be sort of down here.
Yeah. The children's blood, you bring that up. That was kind of the thing that they were jacking into him, but that's been in fiction for decades and decades, like the vampires, and
Right.
they would drink the children's blood or whatever. I can't remember that. There was another fictional character. She was a female, and that's how she stayed young, is she would bathe in.
Oh, no, that was actually a real character from the, I don't know, was it?
It was based on
1700s or something. It was some queen or something that would do
supposedly
that.
she did that. Yeah.
Yeah. But the studies have shown that it works in animals. And there's some crazy guy, I can never remember his name. He was trying to live forever with all this stuff, and now he started a cult, I think. But he was transfusing, I think, the blood of his son.
Oh,
but
wow.
then he stopped doing it and said, no, it doesn't work. And so I'm guessing somebody got to him, frankly. They were like, we don't need to go down this path because people be snatching children off the street and like bleeding them dry.
Well, they already are.
Yeah, which is true. Yeah, which is probably true, sadly.
Maybe that's one of the reasons, maybe.
So it's, these people have, they're going to have access to therapies we don't, because they're too expensive or too difficult to administer. And that's something I'm showing this in these, the power of that is going to be huge, and the power of their ability to circle the wagons and just create a hereditary elite like it was hundreds of years ago. Their children will have money. They'll have been selected from an embryo. Any genetic defects that were a problem, they'll deal with that with CRISPR.
Get around the inbred issues, that
that's easily fixed.
Egyptians and the kings, and
I think they all got around it by all the women were having sex with their security guards. Yeah, because when they do genetic testing of like old royalty, they're like, this guy isn't who you think he is.
Yeah,
like, he's got DNA. Those women weren't stupid.
Somebody, yeah. But with genetic manipulation that they can do nowadays, they can bypass that, and again, like you said, genetically enhance and be genetically elite.
And it's interesting because H.G. Wells wrote a book called The Time Machine, and it was about the upper classes evolving away from the lower classes, and the lower classes kind of became these cannibalistic cave-dwelling apes, and the upper classes, wore togas and are all blonde and
eating grapes.
But as is so often true, it's much worse than he imagined, because evolution takes a long time, but genetic manipulation doesn't say that's one generation. They can fix it. So they're so much smarter, faster, and stronger.
They brought back the dire wolf.
Yeah. It's really is.
Jurassic Park is real.
Yeah. It's fascinating. Can you imagine, in another generation that, some Jeff Bezos's kid is not only going to have an IQ of 160, he's going to be, a 4-minute miler and, a pro level boxer.
And can breathe in outer space.
Yeah. So, it's like, and then how are you going to compete with that kid? How are you going to dislodge them?
Yeah.
From their position?
we die out, you know, us peons die out, and the new evolution of mankind is on its way.
And we love that. Like, so, I mean, think about dynasties, you know, the Bushes, you know, Clinton. One of the reasons I know everybody hated Hillary Clinton, but the thing I hated about her most was that she got there as a family dynasty. She wouldn't have been there if it hadn't been for Bill Clinton. It's neither with George Bush II. And so, you know, you worry that, okay, now Donald Trump will leave, and then it'll be Don Jr., and then it'll be Barron. And, you know, those family dynasties get in there. You can't get rid of them.
Even Donald Trump's father, you know, they were big into the politics.
Yep.
You know,
so it'll be interesting to see if you can, and then after generation, 20 years of, say, the Trumps or the Clintons, or heck, people were talking about Michelle Obama running, or the Obamas, doesn't matter. They get so much power, they accumulate so much power, then you can never dislodge them. Then it's Obama's kids, then it's his grandkids, whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to be super careful about that. The same thing happens, you know, with fame, or with, Sonny Bono was was in Congress. And then his wife, she took over for him, I think. And so it's, these people get very entrenched. And I wish you could go through there was something in the Constitution that every few years you got rid of all of them.
Yeah. Well,
term limits.
We all know that's the problem, is that they get in there and they get, they go in there as a thousandaire and they come out as a, billionaire.
Yeah. And you can't get around. And this is something else that's very much part of this book. You can never get rid of them. So the son of a bitch is like 90 years old.
Yeah.
Biden, Trump, all of them. And you think, when's the last time you thought, I needed an innovative solution to a complicated problem? Find me a 90-year-old. It's, I'm gonna ask my grandpa how to fix my phone, right? That's not what you're doing.
Yeah.
But that's what we're doing, right? We got all these really complicated problems that are going to affect the next generation. So let's get a bunch of people over 80 to try to solve them. I mean, it's kind of laughable when you think about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Today we're cleaning the SIG P365. You're going to want to follow the SIG guidelines for disassembly and reassembly. You're going to want to take the firearm apart, put it out piece by piece, and then you're going to grab your favorite SEAL 1 CLP Plus product. Whether it's paste, liquid, or aerosol, they're all going to do the same thing. Today we're using the paste, and you can see that it comes out and it spreads very easily. Using the nylon brush, you're going to go in and you're going to cover the entire firearm, inside and out. We are safe on all metals, plastics, composites, rubber, wood, leather. So you're going to go piece by piece, putting it on there, wiping it on to clean it. Then you're going to go back and you're going to wipe it off. Remember, SEAL 1 is a wipe on, wipe off process. Use Q-tips to get down in the little nooks and crannies that the microfiber cloth does not get to. Wipe it all off, and do not forget to do the magazine. Periodically, you're going to want to take the magazine apart to clean the insides. You're going to reassemble according to the manufacturer's guidelines. Get it together. You're going to perform a function test, make sure it's operating properly, and then you're done. Remember, SEAL 1 and done.
SEAL 1 is a proud sponsor of the Talking Lead podcast and the Leadhead Brigade. Use the code LEADHEAD for a 25% off discount.
We didn't really talk much about Matt, but they used to be friends, had a falling out. Matt's kind of his handler now, I guess.
Kind of, to the degree anybody can handle Fayed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. he's kind of giving him his missions and whatnot. He reminds me of as I'm reading this, I was actually putting, I was trying to put who would play that part, kind of deal.
Oh, in a movie?
Yeah, in a movie.
No, I never think in those terms.
Do you not?
No. I'm more of a book guy than a movie guy.
I mean, but not after the fact. After you've done it, it's like if it were a TV series or movie, who would I want to play?
Originally, when I did Fade 20 years ago, I thought Brad Pitt, who isn't Arab, but I was like, if they could make him up to look Arab, because he does likable but crazy really well.
Yeah, a younger Brad Pitt. Yeah,
well, it would have been 20 years ago.
That's true.
Yeah, when I wrote that book, so he was just like, I thought that's the guy to do, just kind of like completely nuts and homicidal, but you really like him, funny, all that kind of stuff.
Good looking. Apparently,
good
he's
looking,
like a really good looking dude.
Yeah,
as you paint the picture of him.
What is he? Fade describes himself as like a cross between a Bollywood action star and a al-Qaeda terrorist.
Yeah,
if you look at him. Yeah,
I noticed that you did some caricatures of some of the characters. For the release of the book, and then for him, you don't. Other ones have faces and all this, and for him, you just kind of got some long hair over a face where you don't really have a face there. Obviously that was intentional.
Totally intentional, because I feel like, particularly with the main character, everybody creates their own,
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily like what you described. So I wanted to keep him a little mysterious, so when people read the book, they could put together what they thought he looked like.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I haven't painted a picture of him yet.
No,
I haven't really got a solid, this is him and what he looks like.
In my mind, he really looks like, again, this is going to date me a little bit, but I don't know if people remember the movie the Mummy. It was like the first one, had Brandon Fraser in it. I mean, this was a long time ago. It's a great movie, but he had kind of this sidekick who was an Arab guy who's played by, I think his name's Obed, but I can't remember his last name. And he had like tattoos under his eyes and long hair. And he was always kind of, when I picture him, I kind of picture that guy a little bit.
So here is that cast.
Yeah. And so where is he?
Is it this guy? Arnold?
No, he's probably, you might have to go down a little bit. Let's see if we can find him. Is he
this guy?
Oh, yeah, there he is. Yeah. Oded. I said Obed. His name's Oded.
Oded. Okay.
But I mean, obviously he's much older here. But if you see a picture of him from that era, he has like kind of tattoos under his eyes. He looks in many ways the way that I was thinking that Faye would look. If you just said like you search for it in it's called The Mummy. Oh,
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that he would ever wear that outfit, but
yeah. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I was thinking this guy from when you said The Mummy, I was like, oh yeah, it's this guy. We got too many backs.
The guy that actually played The Mummy.
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah. That guy. What? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Him.
Yeah, no. The other guy, I don't see that. Of course, he's also bald, so maybe that's what's throwing.
Yeah, he's got some hair on there, and
but obviously Arab looking. So I always, I definitely picture him that way, which is kind of important to his character. I mean, he does speak Arabic. He comes from a Muslim, a devout Muslim family. He's not religious, but comes from that background. So, and that informs, to some extent who he is.
Yeah. So, there's, and not as much as I was thinking there would be, with this guy being a multi-billionaire and, having unlimited resources and, things like that. There's this one scene that I thought was really cool where, and it didn't have Fade in it. It was Matt and him, and they were headed to go meet, what's the guy's name? Boga.
Oh, Bo Chang, maybe.
Bo Chang.
Yeah.
Chang. And they get raided, and Matt's like trying to get all tactical and do this, and Lowe saying, "Just stay in the truck. Just stay in the truck." But Matt gets out, and then all of a sudden people just start dropping, around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool too.
Yeah, you can't control them. Can't sometimes the reality on the ground is different than it is back at headquarters.
Yeah. What kind of research did you do? As far as the weapons, the technology that you use in this, that machine, that they talk about, some of the, like the drone weapons that he was using.
Well, the machine is definitely all about, the performance enhancing drugs. Obviously, the blood thing, I read the studies on that, but also the cocktails of performance enhancing drugs that people are on. And what we talked about earlier, that all of a sudden, all these CEOs, not to mention actors. I mean, my God, actors will go from looking like me to looking like Schwarzenegger in 3 months for a role.
Joe
right?
Rogan.
I mean, that was not a thing, before. And so that was part of the research I did. I learned a lot more about performance enhancing drugs than I ever thought I would ever need to know.
What's the good ones? What do we need to be?
Oh man, there's so many good ones, but they're so dangerous. Like Tren, you want to get jacked, man, and you don't care if you die. Hit that one.
What's that procedure that people are having done now? They're going down to Tijuana, and it.
I don't know what. To get more muscular.
No, well, it's for repair and healing.
Oh, there's all kinds of
regeneration.
Yeah, there's all kinds of that stuff with like centrifuging your blood and stem cell and all that. But I'm not sure any of that works. I could never find because I was trying to obviously heal him quickly. I hate like the soap opera coma thing where the guy wakes up from the coma and he's fine, jumps out of bed, that does not happen. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to find all these kind of next gen therapies, but those kinds of things I don't find work. The drugs, though, they definitely work. So
I've heard
there was definitely that
the stem cell therapy, because a lot of athletes are having that done.
Yeah,
especially,
but I'm not sure it works.
UFC.
It might just be a placebo effect. It's expensive. It would be for a specific injury, but I actually looked into it once, but I was unconvinced. It's one of those things that seems like it should work, but I'm not sure it does. And then, certainly the AI controlled weaponry with drones and things, that's out there. That's just in its first stages. I mean, that's going to completely transform warfare.
Yeah.
But in ways that I'm not sure of, because I would say that modern warfare is unprofitable. There's no way you can really, I mean, there's no way to have a war in this day and age and come out better for it, starting a war. You can't make it up. The good old days when you were the Romans, you're like, oh, we're going to go in here, we're going to kill and enslave everybody and take all their stuff. That was profitable. But there's too much destruction, too many insurgencies. The international community won't let you take all their stuff, things like that. So it's really not profitable. And now with the drones, I mean, in the next few years, it's going to become incredibly unprofitable in that.
Well, it's not.
The toll and the destruction is going to be crazy.
In the sense of looting, but it is profitable in the sense of I make bombs, I make drones. You buy all these bombs, all these drones, all these bullets, all these guns, all these uniforms, all these night vision,
for the industry, it's very profitable.
It's extremely profitable.
Countries, not so much. So there's no reason to start a war. Russia being the perfect example.
For profit, yeah.
Yeah, like to better yourself. Like Russia's, if they took all of Ukraine, they would not be better off. They're worse off. I mean, now they got Finland in NATO sitting all along their border. Sweden, The Poles are rearming like crazy. I mean, not rearm. They're an incredible fighting force. The rest of Europe is now rearming. They're so much worse off. Lost 1 million men. They already have a collapse in their population. So that's a perfect example. Hamas, I don't even know what happened there, but certainly not profitable for them. Not profitable for the Israelis have certainly not benefited from this. And so and then with drone warfare, that's going to become an order of magnitude worse. And the obvious one is China invading Taiwan.
Yeah.
That to me is very worrying and very interesting to me because their window is closing. Pretty soon that technology is going to be such that you cannot attack a country like Taiwan without losing 3 million people in the first day. So it's and maybe I thought that would take us into a post-war period, but I think it's just going to turn us into a really, really deadly, horrible war period because people are still going to want to go to war because they like it.
What do you think the next conflict is going to be? What's the next?
I don't know.
Your crystal ball. Ball out, Kyle.
I don't know. Maybe Iran. I worry about China every day because that's just going to be a bloodbath. And there's no reason to do it. China has plenty of land.
I don't
do anything they want.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think so, but I would have said Russia is not going to invade Ukraine and Hamas is not going to commit suicide in Israel either.
I would have laid 90% higher than 90% odds on both those.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I would have said Russia. I mean, once they started making noise about it, yes, but 15 years ago, why on earth would Russia want to get involved in something like that? So hopefully China's rational.
The resources. I mean, I don't know.
They don't need them. I mean, Russia's massive and full of resources, and now they're sanctioned. I mean, it's just, I don't know. To me, it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And it's not going
Maybe
well.
He just didn't like Zelensky. Maybe he didn't like the boy actor. I don't know.
He did. I guess he didn't. But boy, I'd hate to be. The great thing about being Putin is you're not getting killed because you don't like Zelensky. Your million guys are getting killed.
Well, both of them.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll. I forgot about Greenland and Canada, and the Panama Canal. Maybe those are going to be the next ones.
Well, willingly, he's given them the option to willingly
to kneel.
To kneel, yeah.
Yeah, they don't seem to want to.
So we didn't really get into the plot yet of the book. We were talking about the pandemic earlier, the COVID virus, and I didn't. Is that a spoiler if we do that?
Well, I mean, it's very much about. Yeah, I mean, not to go into too much detail. John Lowe wanting to get enough control over the world to sort of back it down a little bit, to bring it back from the precipice.
Yeah.
And in the midst of him kind of working toward what in his mind is a long-term goal.
There's a snag.
And that the governments of the world prove incapable of handling it because they're all circling their wagons and trying to save themselves.
Yeah.
And he finds himself in a situation where he's kind of uniquely qualified and equipped to deal with this, and much more so than the world. And so the world's governments. So he gets sucked into this, I think, much sooner than he felt like he was capable. And because of that, he has to lean on Fayed, who's sort of Fayed and his team, who are kind of his combat wing.
Yeah. They are his sword.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to ask you this. What do you have against the Dallas Cowboys?
So many people have asked me that, and it's a funny,
have they?
Yes, and it's a funny story.
Okay.
Because I know absolutely nothing about football. I know less than nothing about football. But my dad was stationed in DC when I was in high school. And So it was originally the Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
And somebody was reading it, and a friend of mine was reading it, and for the football sections, because I was like, I don't even know what anything about it. And he's like, is this intentional? Is this like a historical novel? I'm like, what do you mean? The Washington Redskins don't exist anymore. It's not what they're called. And I thought, oh shit. What's a team that for sure will be around for the next year? And I think he said that you can count on the Dallas Cowboys. And I like, so I just changed it. But yes, it was originally the Washington Redskins, which are now the Washington something else. I don't know.
What
was
are
it
they?
The Commanders or something? Or
Something like that. Yeah, I think they're actually talking about changing them back to.
And that's why I didn't do it, because I said, well, should we just change the name? He's like, they'll probably change it back. And I said, okay, what's the most reliable, famous football team in the world that is never going to change?
You even more kudos if you'd have kept the Redskins. Because like, yes, this.
No, but that would have been a right or left. That would have been a political right or left political statement that I try to stay away from. So my goal in every book is to get hate mail equally from the left and the right, right? For somebody to say that evil president is Joe Biden, and then next day get one and be like, that evil president is supposed to be Donald Trump. And so I know if I get hate mail from both sides equally, I've done my job, right?
You kept it right down the middle. Equal opportunities, right?
Exactly. I'm like South Park. I'll insult anybody.
Yeah. Well, you do globetrot a lot on this also. They go to a lot of different countries. Granada, Spain. We go
where I live, so that's a lazy thing.
That was a lazy thing. That was
because I know it really well, and
so
I don't have to.
That house that Fayed has there, is that based on one you've seen there?
Yeah, there's actually there's a big mountain behind my house that goes up to a national park, and I ride my bike on it a lot. And there's this huge kind of like, it'd be a mansion, but it was built God knows when, and it's really in ruin.
Yeah.
And it's this amazing setting in the olive trees with the huge white Sierra Nevadas behind it.
Oh, wow.
And my wife wanted that house something awful. And I was like, oh, hell no, we're not getting into that. But it would have been so cool in her mind to have just, in the big holes and the collapse parts, to just fill them with glass, and then have part of the house, is gone, but it's still a floor. And she's like, that could be the terrace, but it used to be part of the house. And so they do that some in Greece, where they'll have a partially collapsed building and they'll turn it into a restaurant. And so you're like kind of on the half collapsed floor or something.
Right.
And so now it's outdoor. It used to be indoor, but now. And so it's sort of heard that dream of that house. And I thought, oh, I'm going to build, I'll have him live there.
It's like, here's your house. It's in the book.
Yeah, it's in the book. And then the aqueduct, like him wanting to build the lazy river with the aqueduct.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, there's a bike ride I really loved. It's in the middle of nowhere out on the gravel there. And it goes by an aqueduct that Napoleon built. And is now, there's only a few arches left of it. And I thought, what a sweet lazy river that. I mean, you like go along the aqueduct and then come back to your pool.
I was going to pull this up.
You probably pull up just Napoleonic Aqueduct, Granada, Spain, and it would probably, so that's the old Arab fort right up there in the left, probably. Yeah, there's a huge Arab fort that kind of hangs above the city. That's called the Alhambra. It's just massive. Because that's where the last Arabs were kicked out of. That's the Generalife. And
oh, wow.
That's what it looks like. So that's the last place that the Arabs were kicked out of in 1492 by the Catholic kings. The last Arab protectorate in Spain.
Now, I think on the last episode, you were telling me that maybe the house you were staying at, you said you just bought a house, but it had Arabic influence.
Yeah, it was a flat out Arab, right? Like you walk through the arches and it was all Arabic writing. And I had 2 front doors because, you know, you had one front door kind of guests went in and one front door his family went in because you couldn't see the women. You weren't allowed to see the women.
Right.
And one of the doors was now bricked up and had my mail slot in it. But that house is about 500 years old.
Wow. Okay.
And it was cold and drafty, as you might imagine.
But I like the picture that you painted of it. You know, it sounded really cool. And then Raya, is that her name? Raya?
Raya, yeah, Raya.
The character Raya. She was an interesting character. Also, was that kind of pulled from the headlines as well? Was she a Ghislaine Maxwell kind of?
Well, she was one of the young girls, not the mistress.
Not the mistress.
She was kind of stolen from Bulgaria when she was 14 years old and put on that, you know, on that circuit of the rich and famous men, you know, go to the parties with the young girls, which,
yeah,
you know, unfortunately, that's a component in the next book I'm writing. And it was way before I wrote all this way before the Epstein stuff blew up. So this is sort of, again, the victim of being good at predicting stuff. And you try to write these books that you think will be a couple of years out, and then history will overtake you. And so that Raya, I mean, that's a little bit, it's inspired by some of the people that I've hung around, and not that I know anybody that I am aware of that goes to those kinds of parties, but I've known a lot of very wealthy people when I lived in London, a lot of very wealthy Arabs that I was friends with. And let me tell you, you go to the bars that they go to, the ones that, you know, you can't just walk into, that you go in with them. And, you know, you realize every woman in here is 6'1" and gorgeous and like 19 years old. And they're literally dancing on the tables. You know, everybody's getting up and dancing on the tables and everything. And you think, honestly, none of these girls would give me the time of day. I'm sure they can smell the poverty on me.
Oh,
but,
I mean,
like, that's real, boy. You go into the parking lot. We pulled in like a $100,000 BMW, and it was the crappiest car in the parking lot, you know? And so that and some parties I've been to around Jackson Hole where I live that's now very wealthy. And some of the things with the government that I've done. I remember once I was going to a football game with a government guy who, I guess she'll probably relate. He's dead now, but I'll say he remains nameless. And we were going to miss the kickoff. So we just had the highway going in the opposite direction because of the traffic, right? Just had the highway in the opposite direction closed. We pulled over the median and just drove the wrong way up the highway. And I thought, this is the good life, you know? So
I wouldn't fit in that life with my 98 GMC Yukon.
Yeah, we were in the limo and just pulled over with the police escort because he's like, I don't want to miss the kickoff. And me and my father were there. We're like, well, you know, we're sitting in traffic. What are you going to do? And he's like, well, I'm not missing the kickoff. So we made it. But it's kind of incredible, these things that go on. And I wrote a lot of the stuff before the Epstein thing, like, really ever became a thing. And now all that's happening is people are aware of it now. But that kind of stuff has always gone on. But now it just became front and center because of, you know, Epstein's arrest and his relationship with Donald Trump, you know, because so it's newsworthy now. But it's still going on. He ain't the only one.
All of them.
I mean, with the Clintons, with extremely wealthy people. I think it's just, I think it's really becoming to the forefront now because obviously Donald Trump is such a big fixture in the news. Yeah. But if Clinton had won, then it would be because of her, right? So, but this is going on all the time, and that's just one guy that got caught. I mean, Kanye. I mean, you're hearing about it, like a lot. You're just hearing about it all the time now. It's just coming to light.
But do you think he killed himself?
You know, I'm not a big conspiracy, despite my profession, I'm not a big conspiracy guy. But
Yeah.
I did a deep dive into that kind of about that video and everything and how his neck was broken. And he was a guy that it was very convenient for him to be dead. And now I guess Maxwell's now moved into a much more comfortable situation. And I would not rule that out.
Yeah.
So that's turned into
Very
such
plausible.
a weird situation, you know?
Very plausible, right?
It's very plausible. A lot of very powerful people, clearly. And again, this goes to the elites again, you know, all of a sudden, you know, no problem. We're going to release that list. We're going to release all this stuff. And then all of a sudden it turned into, oh, there's no file. No, just don't look here, look over there.
Yeah.
And so it's, once again, the elites, you can't keep them down. You can't hurt them.
Can't keep a good elite down.
No, you really can't.
The great outdoors. A place where memories are made. Where adventures are born. And where the spirit is rejuvenated. At Pyramid, our commitment goes beyond just providing gear. We're here to connect you to the right product and service, tailor-made for your adventures. Every moment outside is an opportunity to embrace our passion, to learn, to experience, to bond. We believe in the power of the outdoors. And with top-of-the-line gear from Pyramid, you're not just experiencing the wild, you're becoming a part of it. Guided by our vision, we strive every day to share our knowledge and passion for the vast, beautiful world outside. Because when you're armed with the best, every expedition becomes an incredible experience. Pyramid. Adventures in recreation.
Now, you make some other, kind of subtle references in the book. What's your hang up with 80s female bands?
Well, that was a little bit of a throwback. I wanted it to be, first of all, Fayed loves cheerful music. He's depressed a lot. So he loves the Go-Go's. And if he's going to go on a killing spree, he's definitely going to do it to like the Go-Go's or the Ramones or the Beach Boys. And so
Olivia Newton-John, you've got Bananarama, yeah, because it's fun music for him. But I had a book about him like 20 years ago, and he went into a coma really 20 years ago. But I wanted to keep that timeline vague, because the truth is he couldn't have been in a coma for 20 years. You'd never recover from that, no matter how many drugs and how much therapy you had. So I wanted to keep that time frame vague. And so you'll notice that I put all kinds of like movie references and music references that go all the way back to the 80s, which was way earlier than when I wrote that book. I wrote that book, only 20 years ago. And so that his background would be really vague. There was a book or a movie once called, I think it was Blue Velvet by David Lynch was the director. Very strange movie. But one thing I loved about it was there was no time frame in it. Like
you'd have a modern car, but people would be listening to a boombox, and then the fashion was all different. And I loved that idea of it was completely timeless. And so I thought I would do that with this book, where you couldn't totally pinpoint Fade's age or background.
Just trying to share that. I pulled it up. There it is. I don't think I've ever watched it. I've heard of it. I don't think I've ever watched it though. Blue Velvet.
It's very David Lynch. It's a very strange movie. But if you look at it, there are just like these elements from different times. It's like if you made a movie now and somebody had a Walkman, and then they had this car from this era, and so it's that's kind of what I wanted to do, was create this really weird time warp around him that you could never figure out exactly what his time frame was. This is what happens with rap too. Like I had to stop aging him.
Yeah.
Because he was getting he's my age, he'd be almost 60.
Yeah. We're almost the same age. I'm 55.
Yeah, I'm just turned 59. So, and then you have all the secondary characters who are a problem too. Mitch Rapp has this daughter who's quite young, but if you didn't age him, but you aged her realistically, someday she'd be older than him. So so I decided to get really vague and take a little bit of David Lynch.
Yeah.
Take a little inspiration from David Lynch.
I talked to Stephen Hunter about that, and his character, Bob Lee Swagger. And, he ages Bob Lee and throughout his series.
And so did Vince.
Yeah.
But I felt like Vince would have worked his way out of that character and into another character or something, but I didn't feel like I should do that. I
like the way they do James Bond, because James Bond, you just never know, because he picks up here or he picks up there, and
right.
I like the way that they.
After a while, the events of a character's life, you think about Mitch Rapp starting with a Pan Am 103, which is very visceral to me because my father was the lead FBI agent on that, and it happened at my college graduation dinner. So I know that Mitch Rapp is exactly, because he was graduating from college when that happened. His girlfriend was killed in it. So I know exactly how old he is. And as an aging athlete, I can tell you that jumping through all those windows and stuff like that starts to get harder to get up in the morning.
Just trying to tie the shoes, man. It's rough, but I like how you did make those. You pointed back to the some of the '80s references there. I like to go, and then it starts off with a quote from Tears for Fears.
Yeah, that quote really. Every time I heard it for years, even when I thought Fade was dead and gone, I never write about him again. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I ever had.
Yeah.
That just really made me think of that character. It always brought him back to me.
It's one of my favorite bands. I love Tears for Fears.
They're an amazing band. Yeah, super timeless, right?
Have you met them?
No.
Yes. Never met them. No. One of them, did you ever see that TV series Psych?
No, I don't think I've never heard of it.
Yeah, so the main character had a thing for Tears for Fears, and not the main guy that sings, but the other guy. I can't remember his name from Tears for Fears. He brought into the show. He actually brought into the show, and he was on the show several times.
That's cool.
It was cool. Yeah, it was kind of cool. Anything else about the book that we need to let our listeners know? I mean, it's a great book. I did the audio just for time and my eyes. But the guy who did that, what's his name again? Who does
Will Dameron.
Yeah. Super good guy. Yeah. As far as how he does the characters and his pace and his tone, keeps you in it. But like I said, I didn't read the first one, but you don't need to. You guys can jump into it and pick up right where you left off 20 years ago. And, it's really good. I enjoy it. What kind of influence did you where did you tap in for this character? Where did he come from? Where did Fade come from?
The initial idea And it was when I was probably 16 years old. I wasn't a writer, and I don't know, but characters in my life or people in my life, just like everybody, really influenced me. And I was shooting with a friend of my family's who was kind of a legendary Marine, an operator from Vietnam. And he had this gun with him, a pistol, and he had like 4 rounds for it. And I swear to God, they were tracer rounds, which was really weird.
Yeah.
Created a lot of smoke, but it was Russian. And I had never seen a gun like it, obviously, because this was still Soviet era. And I asked him where he had gotten it. And he said, he's kind of this amped up guy, and he was really funny. Like, unlike a lot of operators who are pretty stoic, this guy was like a practical joker and like really funny. And he got into this big story about some recon he was doing, solo recon. And the Viet Cong were coming, and there was going to be this big attack and blah, blah, blah. So he had to go up, and he's like, in that story, he's like, so I'm walking through the jungle, and there's this Russian guy putting his shoes on. So I shot him in the head, and then I went up and I went to this ridge, and then he's describing, of course, as Marines will, all the movements of the troops and everything he's doing. And then he's like, and I was walking back, and I walked by the guy, and he had this gun, and I thought, well, that'd be a cool souvenir. So I took it. And he's like, that's why there are only 4 rounds for it, is that's what was in it. But it was such a weirdly nonchalant kind of, so I shot him in the head as being this sort of aside. And all his crazy drink, and he once almost got me killed, and there was a helicopter rescue, but I didn't have to get in the helicopter, he did. So I'm proud of that. But I mean, like, that guy gets you in a lot of trouble.
You can't just leave us hanging on that. What's
that was a little kayaking mishap.
Kayaking, okay.
Yeah, and so he was a Marine, and all his kids were like amazing wrestlers, and we went on this kayaking thing down a really, really tough river, which I saw, and it was in flood. And I looked at it and said, I was probably 17 at the time, and said, this is a bad idea. And they were all kind of like, oh my God, you are such a pussy. And I was the only guy with really kayaking experience. I had a pretty decent kayak. Right. They were working with lesser equipment. And yeah, that was way too much river. But I wasn't a wrestler. I was a competitive swimmer, which came in very, very handy. And so me and one of his sons managed to get out of the river. Fortunately, I went over a waterfall, got sucked down to the bottom, came up in the hydraulic, got sucked down again. And when I came up again, I was really close to my kayak, which was trapped in the hydraulic under the waterfall. And I got hold of the bow line, and it was full of flotation bags and styrofoam. And my friend's kayak had literally snapped in half, and I saw it bobbing straight up down the way.
Holy cow.
But I caught up with him, and it took us about 40 minutes to get out of the river because you just couldn't get to the sides. These waves were crashing, and there were a lot of big logs that had been torn out and were in the water. And I had seen the kayak that John was in and 2 of his kids collapse. And so we got out, flagged a ride, went to the Rangers, and told them what happened. And we all went back and ran down to where I had seen where this waterfall was that we had gone over. And they had managed to get into a snag in the middle of the river. And they were all on this snag, but it was breaking up. Yeah. And the ranger said, we can't even get a power raft down here. The water's too high. The only way you could get these people out would be a helicopter, like lowering a line. But they're like, it's not like in the movies where people can just jump onto that thing, and we don't have people to do it. And we're like, funny story. Recon Marine from Vietnam, just get the chopper in. And they did. And we were standing there, and the chopper came in, lowered the line down. His kids were pretty young. Wow. So he had to get in with them and hold him in a bear hug. And they brought him up and dropped him in the forest, and they took him back to get the other kid. And he's like, oh my God, it was breaking me in half. Those kids, because it was just the strap here, and he had the kids of weight and the helicopter top of. He's like, I thought it was going to snap my spine. And they got all three of them out. But think about competitive swimming instead of wrestling if you're looking for a sport.
Anyway,
that guy was very larger than life, and some of him is in Fade. Like, actually, I think there's a story. I can't remember if it's this book or the next one, where he throws a Marine off a battleship, and it
was in this.
So that really happened, but he was a Marine, and he threw a Navy guy off the battleship.
I think it was in. I've heard the story.
Yeah, that was him. He also launched a car off the front of an aircraft carrier with the plane launcher thing to see how far it would go. So he was quite a character. Yeah, somebody I was speaking once about, and there was a crowd. An old guy came up to me and he said, I didn't know him, but I was in Vietnam. He's like, did you know he ordered the only bayonet charge in the entire war? I thought, yeah, I could totally see that.
Probably just did it for the fun of it.
But he was next level. Let me tell you, that guy, there's a diorama to him at the Naval Academy about a bridge he blew up. He had to crawl under the bridge with people shooting at him, and fell off. It blew up, and he went way down into Viet Cong territory and had to come back alone.
What's his name?
Like, well, for sure he's dead. John Ripley. They actually made a movie about him. I've never seen it though. And he had to come back, and they're like, well, for sure he's dead. And they're like, no. And then one day he just walked back into camp.
Let's see. Is it this guy?
Yep. That's him.
Okay. So,
but he was my father's best friend.
Okay.
For many years. But a character, let me tell you.
Is that him? Is there a book? Looks like there's a book on him there.
Yes. And then I think they made a movie about him too, but I don't think I've ever seen it. Or I know I've never seen it, but I think they made a movie.
I'll have to see.
And so he is not the personality of Fade. Fade's way more out there than this guy was, but man, I can just remember a lot of, fun dinners and things with that guy, just drinking we were all drinking like crazy, and just like the most outrageous character ever. And just such an incredible legend. Like, the stories that people tell about him are just like superhuman. So he always makes me think of Mitch Rapp and Scott Harvath and Fade as the guys that were just like unkillable.
Yeah. And I gotta imagine that, again, with your father's, what he did for a living, and all these interesting characters that you've met throughout your life, that's had obviously a big influence on the way you write and the characters that you write, and how they are. What other real life people did you pull into for these characters for Fade In?
I think a lot of them were just composites. I've been really lucky to know, Bill Webster, who just recently died, who was the director of the FBI and the CIA. He helped me a lot when I was first getting started. But MI6 and MI5 guys, when my father went to London, the SAS, who are really incredible group of people. So it's, that's what I like. Those were always the friends of the family from as long as I could remember, when I was 4 years old, So I got a real flavor of that, who these people were, and, what they did over the course of my life. So it became very easy to create these characters because they're a composite of this person I met and that person I met, and they do something. Some of the scenarios in my books really happened, where they're just a slight twist on something that really happened. There's a scene in my first book where a guy, the FBI agent, like somebody robs a bank and kills somebody, the guard, and the FBI agent's having a haircut and he doesn't have his gun with him. And he's like, oh, I'm just going to get into the chase, but I'll just stay behind the police and just come in when it's all over, like the hero, and turns a corner and finds out he turned it in front of the police and he was right behind the suspect.
Right.
And then gets into a gunfight, but doesn't have his gun. Well, that actually happened to my father.
Oh.
So that was a story that was directly about him.
Well, that's cool.
And so, a lot of those things, the stories I heard over the years and stuff, worked their way into the books in some way or another.
Yeah. I know earlier you said that, when you're writing your books, you never think of people that are going to play them, you never think in movie aspects. But, this character, he definitely has big screen potential, in my opinion.
Could be, it's a little different, I don't know if people are looking for that. It's definitely an action thriller, but it's also dealing, with some gray area between good and evil, as opposed to, got a white hat and a black hat. And it's got a character who's not as squared away as a Mitch Rapp or Scott Harvath or many of the
But that's what I like.
Whose motivations are complicated.
That's what I like about it. That's what I like about this character is that he's kind of the anti-hero. He's
for sure.
He's got his own, morals and way of doing things that's different from your Captain America type.
Yeah.
Character.
He was never a Boy Scout. I can guarantee that.
Yeah. And then the people that you surround him with, just kind of add to that whole dynamic. And again, in my opinion, I'm not a Hollywood producer or anything like that. I think this would be a very interesting, like a multi-series, not a movie, but if you could do like one of those.
Yeah, like a series of it. Yeah.
Series.
I think it'd be super fun and interesting. And if you could get the right actor and figure out, who was really compelling.
Yeah.
The Hollywood works in mysterious ways, though. They make movies that I think that's the stupidest decision you ever made in your life.
Yeah.
Why don't you just pick? I got like 20 friends who could give you a book that's 10 times better than that. That's already written. And
why remake? Why do a reboot? Like Red Dawn, for instance. I'll just throw Red Dawn out there. Red Dawn was like perfect the way it was.
Great movie, yeah.
And then they try to reboot it and bring it back. It's like you could have just done another movie, called it something else, and kind of just changed it up a little bit, and you'd have had your own movie.
I don't know. But they're a weird. It's just they have a whole other dynamic than books. Like, you've got to think about how much the movie costs to make and who you can get for it, and then blah 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 blah. All stuff I've never been involved in by design.
Yeah. Well, people, so.
Yeah, but I got asked to do a movie with this big movie director from India, and I have to admit I was just like, oh man, it just seems like too much work. I didn't do it.
So you're gonna have to up that pay a little bit.
Yeah,
for it to be worth my dime. But Kyle, I know you got to go. I told you we'd keep it around 2 hours here, but I really appreciate you letting me know about the book for one. I definitely am going to go back and get the first one. I'm going to go check it out, read it.
Yeah, well, let me know what you think of it when you're done.
I can only, again, assume that there's going to be another one of these coming up because you left it wide ass open.
Yeah, well, the hope is that'll be the start of a series that continues to explore all the weird stuff going on in the world.
Yeah, yeah. And it's easily digestible too, as far as the length and whatnot. So
yeah, hopefully, try to drone on forever, right?
So for those lead heads who aren't watching the screen, you can go to Kyle Mills' website. It's kylemills.com, and it's at Kyle Mills Author on looks like most of the social medias there, X and Instagram and Facebook. you guys can go give him a follow. And then I guess Amazon, is that the best place to go? And
yeah, I mean, bookstores, Amazon, whatever your favorite way to buy your book.
What's your tour? You got a book signing tour? Or you
I did it. Yeah, it's done.
Didn't come to Nashville, did you?
We did not. I did not come to Nashville this time. Maybe next time. Maybe next time.
You need to come, because last time I told you if you come to Nashville, I'll take you to Royal Range.
That's right.
And we'll shoot some.
I'd love to. Somebody, I need a bookstore to invite me though.
Is that what? Is that all it takes?
Yeah, it's kind of along those. Like if you have to have a bookstore that likes to do thrillers and likes to do events.
Does it have to be a bookstore? Could it be a range?
Could be. Yeah. See if I can convince my publisher to pay for me to go and shoot guns and drink whiskey.
Yeah,
sounds good to me.
We'll take you downtown. Well, downtown Nashville sucks. It's for tourists, but we'll take you somewhere fun.
Yeah. I'd love it.
Check it out, guys. Fade In, Kyle Mills' latest thriller novel here. Do you have anything else besides the Fade series that you're working on?
No, I'm just working on that. I can only do one book a year. So I'm halfway through the next one and probably come out in January of 2027, I think.
Okay.
Is when I figure I'll get it done.
You say you can only do, is that just time-wise,
Just time-wise, focus-wise. Some authors can do multiple books a year, but I have to drill in on one, and it takes me about a year.
Okay. Very good. Well, again, Kyle, thank you so much for being on the show. I know the Leadheads are going to love this book, and more to come from Kyle Mills.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Is there anything else we needed to plug, or you wanted to get out there?
No, I don't think so. That's all I do.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you more about, your bike riding, since you don't do the rock climbing anymore, kind of your hobbies, and then talk more about Spain, but that'll give us an excuse to have you back on, and we can talk about, and we don't have to just talk books when you come on. If you if you want to just come on one of our topic shows, I'd love to have you come on.
Yeah, sure. Just let me know.
I actually did one.
Maybe I'm trying to start climbing again, but we'll see how that goes. So maybe the next time I talk to you, I'll have gotten back into it.
Okay. We're going to talk about this guy named Jim Fountain. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, but I don't know why.
Vietnam. What was that? I can't remember. Anyway, we're going to talk about him because I have a guy that actually knew him and worked with him, and we're going to talk about that. So
that'd be cool. You should get Jack Carr to do that because he just wrote a historical book about Vietnam.
Oh yeah.
About his character's father or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be good too.
Yeah.
Get you and Jack.
He's the military. I have to say, like I said, I don't have a lot of military expertise.
You got the espionage
side. Yes, I got that covered. But
right, and that's what this Jim Fountain guy was more into, was the espionage. It was Red something. I don't know. I can't remember what it is right now, but you put me on the spot, man. But I will definitely invite you, and at your leisure, if you'd like to join us for some of our other recordings, we'd love to have you on.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right.
Keep me posted.
Guys, that's it. Until the next episode, as always, keep your loved ones close, keep your firearms closer, and keep your Kyle Mills, New York Times #1 best-selling author books even closer. Baby.
She said she didn't like that thing.